Hi everyone, this is Ron Saren. Again, it's been quite a while, but here I am to start again. This is episode 2 of our Remember When. And in the last video, I said that I'm going to show you how to make um, a memorial stone. Just a recap, last episode, we talked about how, you know, God loves us so much that he will do anything to be with us, to show us how much he loves us. And when you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, he lives inside of you. And that's how much he loves us, how much he loves you, because he wants to be with you all the time. And so to continue that with this episode, the next step after having the Holy Spirit come live inside your heart, what do you do, right? Is life going to be all good now? Is life going to be perfect? All the answers will come. All problems will be solved. Will you miraculously get miracles after miracles after miracles? Sometimes you do, and most times you don't, because there's things that God has to work out. I shared with you all in our last episode that there was a point in my life where I tried to unalive myself, and obviously it didn't work. Since I'm still here, God still loves me and saved me from that. And I want to say, in continuation to that, is that even though I accepted Jesus into my heart and he lives inside of me, that thought, the cause, the reason, to feel the way I did, the suffering, the pain, even to the point of no more pain. Most of us, if you understand, you've been there, most of us get to a point where we have no more feelings, very apathetic. You want to feel the pain, right? At least you felt like you were alive, like you still existed. But you can get to a point where you don't feel anything anymore. You stop caring. You're so hurt that you become numb to it all. Your heart turns into stone. And so God had to work through that. And so because of that, there's lots of traumas that happen to get me to that point. And then there's a lot of trauma that God need to work out after that. So first thing first, I said I was going to show you how to do a memorial stone of your own. And the best place to start is with your identity. And what's a better example of identity than your name? Do you remember when you first said your own name? Do you have any recollection of that? Or it just kind of like, you just, it's always been a part of you. There was never one point in particular that really stood out and you said, oh yeah, this is my name. Except for the time when they say, hey, what's your name? Some stranger. Of course, you're not supposed to talk to strangers. That's what they taught us. But we later found out that most the most dangerous people are not usually the strangers. They're oftentimes people that we know, that we're very close with. Could be family, could be friends of family, unfortunately. And we'll get to that in a different time. But before we start anything, I want to show you my memorial stone, which is related to my identity, and that is my name. So this is my Yeti cup. I know it's kind of hard to see because I haven't got the lighting correctly yet. But let me see if I can get it. Oh, kind of like that, yeah. So this is my Yeti cup, and it has my name engraved in it in Khmer letters. These are Cambodian language, and it says Ron Saren, and has my favorite color, green. And I love sparkly things. I later learned to love sparkly things. But why is this my memorial stone? Why is it one of the memorial stone, right? Because Yetis didn't really come out, that long ago. No, some of y'all probably were just born when, Yetis were well known. But basically, this is my memorial stone because it's my name, and it was the first time that I actually indulged myself. I bought an expensive cup because Yetis are expensive. To some of y'all are, oh, no, that's nothing. My shoes cost more. Well, some of us, like me, we have a hard time loving ourselves. We have a hard time taking care and indulging ourselves. And that's part of the trauma of identity crisis. And so it was the first time that I actually bought an expensive cup and said, well, I want to put my name on it because this really means a lot to me. And it's significant because I'm learning. I still am learning how to love me the way God loves me. And God knows our value, and we should know our value too. But oftentimes we don't because you're crowded by all the traumas that we've been through. They've been shaped, and they've been, we have allowed ourselves to be conformed in such a way that the enemy steals our identity and distort it, and we believe in lies and all of that. And some of y'all are like me. You probably felt like you're not worth it. You don't deserve it. You're in a financial crisis, and so you have to choose. Are you going to pay bills, or are you going to take care of you? Are you going to or you would rather help somebody else because that's a godly thing to do, the righteous thing to do, and you put yourself in the back burner. Not that you don't love yourself, you do, but you didn't want to be selfish, right? You're always thinking about others first. And that's how I was. I still am, but I'm learning to be better. And so that's why this cup is my memorial stone, because I bought an expensive cup and put my name on it. So why is that important as your name? Because your name ties into your identity. And believe it or not, there I have, throughout my entire life, because my name is Ron Saren, and some of y'all have unique names like me, and we've all struggled through people mispronouncing it, people trying to change it, and we go through cycles of, okay, no, this is how you say my name, please say it right. And then you might even get to the point like, you know what, as long as I hear the sound, okay, I know they're calling. If I know somebody's struggling, oh, they must be calling my name, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that. Sometimes we get so complacent or defeated to the point where we're like, call me whatever you want. I don't care, because you know what? You're never going to get it right. You don't want to get it right. Why do I even bother expecting you to say my name correctly? Okay. And that shouldn't be the case either. Now, some of y'all might have names that are a lot of other people have it. Like my girlfriend, my best friend, she's probably gonna be mad because I'm putting her name out here. But her name is Michelle. There's a lot of Michelles, and she, when we talk about our names, she always jokes about how, everybody has Michelle. She's, a dime a dozen. But I got to tell you, there's no one on the entire earth like my best friend, Michelle. She's the world. We're two peas in a pod. Just as unique as my name is. And so it you see how the conversation kind of goes into, well, everybody has my name. It doesn't really matter. Into, well, my name does matter because it's unique. You see the range, the spectrum. It's how you identify yourself inside your heart, inside your mind, and those words come out. I don't care. My name's Michelle. Everybody's Michelle. You can call me Michelle. To me, it was like, well, my name is Ron Sarin. Can you please say my name correctly? And then there's the in-betweens, right? I do have a nickname. So it's easier if you just call me by my nickname because you're going to butcher my name anyway. Wherever you're at right now, I pray that you will consider your name, why you have that name, because no name is an accident. Every name has a purpose. And whether you believe it or not, no matter how many lies you've been told, no matter how hard it is to accept this, God gave you your name. And He loves it. And it's perfect for you. And there are times when some of us have to go through a name transformation. That's identity transformation. In the Bible, Peter, oops, see, there goes my lighting. I'm telling you, I'm having problems with my lighting. But hold on, let me check this. It's like super bright, so I didn't want it like in my face. Okay, hopefully that stays. And and now that I'm looking at it, I'm really blinded. Anyway, funny story. Just a little digress. One of my good sisters, she was like, "Do you plan to edit the video?" And I said, "No, I'm not editing the video. I'm just gonna go live because the Lord wants me to be real. And if there's any errors, if there's any mistakes, it's part of life. Life is not perfect. It happens. Can I be more prepared next time? Yes. Can I do better setup? Yes. We can change that in the future. But will I cut things out because I didn't like what I said it wrong, or I didn't say it perfectly, or, edit it to where it looks better, it feels better? No, we're going to be real. This is why it's called Remember Stones, because we're going to remember all the goods and the bads with it. Okay, now back to the topic at hand. So Peter, his name was Peter, and no, I'm sorry, his name was Simon, and Jesus later called him Cephas, which means Peter, right? The rock. And then Saul, who later became Paul, before he was killing Jews, he was Saul of Tarsus. If you hear the name Saul of Tarsus, everybody, all the Jews, all the Christians run. I mean, not the Jews, all the Christians run, because Saul is here to kill you. And then later on, he had an encounter with Jesus, and so his name got changed to Paul. And there's other characters throughout the Bible where name is very significant. Okay, like, Peter, Paul, they got their name changed. Jacob of one very important person, right? Because his name later changed to Israel after he wrestled with God, and obviously the nation of Israel comes from him, with his 12 sons. And so, well, it's 11. You guys will have to read the Bible in the book of Genesis, but it's actually 11 because his 12th son was Joseph, but the genealogy follows after Joseph's son Ephraim. So it's not really, the tribe of Joseph. It's actually the tribe of Ephraim. But anyway, it's still 12. And it comes from Jacob, who did not, change his name until he experienced God. And his name became Israel. So in the same sense, your name plays a significant role. And there are times when you're like, well, I prefer my nickname. And that's okay. You can prefer your nickname. You can, if you're like me and you were not born here in America, you got naturalized, you were given the opportunity to change your name completely, like first and last name. You can even add a middle name if you wanted to. But I didn't, because at that time I had already experienced the love of God and the importance of my name, and I started to love my name. So I kept my name. Right. But let me share with you my journey as far as names. Before I get there, though, let me share you about the bad names in the Bible. Okay. There's this guy in the Bible. He only exists in, like, I think 1 or 2 sentences. His name is Jabez. And it says that his mother named him Jabez because she suffered when she gave birth to him. So his name is pain. It means pain and suffering. And so his prayer to God was, increase my territory, Lord, and so that I may not cause pain. Now, one version says pain to others, and another version says pain to myself. But either way, he wanted to change his destiny. So he never changed his name, but he made a pivotal historical mark, because when you read through the genealogy, it says so-and-so was so-and-so, so-and-so begot so-and-so, and then you get to Jabez, and he gets an extra line, something special about him. So now, even though the name Jabez means painful, a lot of people in the Christian world knows the prayer of Jabez. And there's another one, the prophet Hosea. Hosea named his children, when God told Hosea to name his children, not very good names, because at that time Israel was hurting God so much. They were so rebellious, and so his name was representative of what was happening in Israel at the time. And let me look at my notes real quick. I think I just blocked myself. Let me see. Hosea's first son is Jezreel. Jezreel means judgment. God's going to judge the people of Israel. Second born is Lo Rahama. It means no mercy. And the third one, Lo Ami, not my people. Can you imagine? Your father calls you, hey, not my people, come have dinner. Actually, I think I heard this somewhere in a sermon somewhere. I hope it's not a copyright thing, hopefully, but it was really, really funny. It was either a pastor or a YouTuber that made a joke about that. But, it stuck with me because names are significant. So you're going to be like, hey, no mercy. Come to bed. Stop playing out in the street. Right? So it kind of questions, Hosea, did you love your children? Well, we don't really know, but we do know that he loved his wife, who was a prostitute, and he went after her. He never divorced her. He never left her. He even went to the point of buying her back. No matter how many times, she continued to go back to being a prostitute, and she, had kids with him, but it was steadfast, and he was steadfast in his commitment and love, according to God's commandment, the same way that God was committed and loving to his children, Israel. So the name is important. So we're gonna skip right there and move on. So from the memorial stone, how do you go there? How do you get there? Like, how do you know which one to choose? Can you just make a memorial stone? Yes, you can. So just a reminder to some of you who did not see the first video. The memorial stone comes from the book of Joshua, and Joshua chapter 4, when God provided a miracle, he held the Jordan River water, so that the children of Israel can cross it on dry land in order to go into the promised land. And so I had said that the Jordan River is like our trauma. There's things that get in our way, that happens in our life, and it blocks us, it prevents us from going into the promised land that God wants to give us. And let me tell you, if you don't know your identity in Christ, how much he loves you, you're going to have a hard time even finding the entrance to the promised land. God has a promised land for you. God has a promised land for his children. He wants to take you there. And maybe you're already there, but the promised land also had a lot of things going afterwards. A lot of wars had to take place before the actual land was divided amongst the Israelites. So how do we start? First, there's several ways to do this, and I actually learned this when in my early 20s. I don't remember how old I was, but I was taking a leadership class at the church, and because I was a youth worker at the church on the way, and I was transitioning from a youth worker to any type of leader. I felt that my season was coming to an end, and I was very timid. I needed leadership training, and so I took part in this, and it was part of I think it was the college group, part of the college group, and the young adults group, and the pastor who led that was Pastor Leaf Sorling, and his wife. She was she was always there. I really loved them. But in this particular exercise, we were supposed to come up with 10 things in our memories from our age, right? From as far back as we can remember. We were supposed to list good things that happened to us. God blessed us, God saved us, stuff like that. And then bad things that happened, very big things that really hurt us. And what you do is you put it on a sticky note, and then you have two colors, just like this. Like right now, I know it's hard to see because of the lighting. I'm sorry. Green and kind of like a light pink. One color, for me, green means that they're bad things, and pink means they're actually good things. And how you do it is you pray, God, show me, teach me, help me to receive. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, and then you would, the pause that I had is you would include whatever topic it is. Teach me about my name. Teach me about my identity. Teach me about this hurt I'm going through. Teach me, Lord, how did this feeling of suicide came? How did it come about and what happened? You know, something like that. So, but we're going to start with the most simple, basic one is your name. Anything. It could be anything, nothing specific. Whatever you pray, you close your eyes, the first thought that comes to your mind, write it on a sticky note. It could be as many as you want, right? It can take you an hour, it could take you a whole week. It actually is going to take you a lifetime, but give it a timeline. I would say a week. Allow God to show you, and then you're going to start to weed it out and kind of summarize it, because some of them are kind of like repetitive, and so you start to see different patterns. So for me, once you have all of your sticky notes together, you're going to put it in chronological order. So I actually started out with I think 50 sticky notes. And I've done this before, but I was actually surprised that when I did it again, there were a lot more memories, right? Because I got older and things happen. But I summarized it all into, I kind of just chose 6 and 6. But the actual exercise is supposed to show you a pattern of how many bad things happen in our lives and how many good things happen in our life and around what age and what was happening at that time. Because it's a reflection of the seasons that we go through in our journey with God. You're going to have seasons of trouble. You're going to have seasons of blessings. You're going to have seasons of just nothing significant, nothing at all. Just, you're comfortable, you're resting in God. And that's okay. Whatever pops up, because that's your life. Okay. So once you have that, you're going to put it in chronological order. And I'm going to read mine off. So my first one, and this is going back to names, right? My nickname. So as coming from an Asian family, we always have nicknames. Or maybe you guys come from a proper Asian family. I don't know if that exists. You didn't have a nickname, but most of us have nicknames, usually depending on your culture. Like for me, as a Cambodian, my mom, called me Kapok, Apok. Apok actually means short and chubby. Y'all see these lines on my neck? Yeah, I've had them since I was a baby. Try to get rid of them. Maybe I can work on my chin fat. I don't know. But I've always had these lines since I was a baby. And that's how my nickname came about. And that's part of my memory. Was I didn't realize what that meant, growing up. It's like you hear the name Kapok. Cha. Cha means yes in our language. And that's how you respond. When somebody calls your name, do you go, what? Huh? No, we got in trouble. In my family, when my mom called us, you had to say yes. If you didn't say yes and you said something else, you about to get a whooping. Okay? And it was considered very disrespectful. So then it was not until 10 or 11 when I actually was like, where did my name? What? Mom? Why did you call me that? Around 10 or 11, I was like, fit. I was playing. I was very athletic. So I didn't fit the name. So I didn't understand why I had that name. And my mom told me that when I was born in the refugee camp, that I had these 3 necks, and she showed me a picture of me as a baby with 3 layers of neck. And the name was actually Kapokadab, meaning a little short one with a neck bottle. Because back in the days, the Coca-Cola bottles had layers, kind of like the water bottle. These things, I don't know what they're called. I'm pretty sure I do know, but it doesn't come to my mind right now. But these layers right here. So the Coca-Cola bottle back in the 80s, and the 70s, they come in the shape, right, like that shape, and then right where the neck is, you have ridges, and so that was my nickname as an infant. Bottleneck. Coca-Cola bottleneck. That is not a nice name. And then it became too long, so it got shortened to just Kapak. It means short and chubby. You're not just short, but chubby. And why is that significant is because I never realized that I was actually, taller than average, for an Asian woman. I'm 5'7". Well, to be exact, 5'6 3/4". But if I stood straight, I'll be 5'7". But that's taller than the average Asian woman. If an Asian woman gets up to 5'5", that's great. And so I never realized that I was tall because I've always thought my name was, short and chubby. So I was short. I never saw the difference in height. Whereas people were like, "Oh, you're so tall." Anyway, so in high school, when I got fat and I got depressed, and which was like a compound of I'm sorry, it was because I had a thyroid health issue, and also because I was depressed. And so at that time, the name kind of just repeated like a curse. That's your name. That's who you are. You can try to exercise as much as you want. You're not going to get any better. So I didn't. But the reality was I was playing soccer. I was running. I was exercising. I was fit until the moment I took that name and made it my identity. And I got depressed and I stopped. And I got chubby the way that I am now. I think I weighed probably 180, 195 when I was in high school. And then my 3 Nick Chen came back, but I didn't. Anyway, moving on. Second one is, and of course it was bad, right? Because it was a bad connotation and I identified it in a negative way. The second one is I started working at an insurance company. I was 14 years old. And the lady, my boss, couldn't say my name. And she herself was Cambodian. She always called me a Bok. That's how she knew me, a Bok. So when we're in the work setting, it had to be my English name. And she said it was too hard. We're just going to call you Rose. So everybody at work called me Rose. And I allowed it. I didn't know any better. Hey, Rose. Yeah, I was a file clerk. Can you take this stack? Okay. Hey, Rose. Hey, Rose. And I hated it. I hated that name so much because I didn't want to be a dainty rose. I didn't want to be a rose with a thorn. I didn't even like flowers. Maybe that's when I started to really hate flowers. I know it's strange. Most women want flowers for Valentine's Day. Not me. Just give me food. But that was the second nickname that really got to me, and I quit. I quit my job at that time. My boss was horrible. Not just her, but her husband was super horrible. And I started working there when I was 14, up until I was 16, and it was actually the week before. I quit working there the week before when I went back to church. I got off the bus, and that's how I saw that church, because I had to take the bus from my work down the street. It was not down the street, down that boulevard, Sherman Way, and the church is called the Church on the Way. So I'm in the bus going down Sherman Way, and I see the Church on the Way. So the name rung with me, right? It just stuck. And that was one of the reasons why I chose that church to go to. And the other reason was there was a bus stop right there. so, so, um, I remember I was, no, Shadow. Oh, Shadow. That's my baby Shadow. She feels I'm ignoring her. Um, so anyway, that was one of my bad memories because it was actually during the time when I did attempted suicide. Come here, baby. Come here. Come on. Come here. I love you so much. And going on to my third one. Come here, Shadow. I was 14 years old, and actually that one is pink. It's a good thing because I learned how to come here, baby. I learned how to write my name in Cambodian. Come here. Up. Oh, she didn't want. I guess she didn't want to be in a camera. She wanted to be under the table. It's okay, baby. I love you. And the reason why it was good is because I learned how to. Even though I was 14, life wasn't really well, but I was taking Cambodian classes. My mom had sent me and my sister to learn how to read and write Cambodian, and there was a teacher there who was teaching his children in the apartment complex. And it was wonderful because I love learning languages, and I said, why not? You know, I can learn it. I'm smart enough. And that was the first time I learned how to spell my name. And as you see here, well, kind of hard to see, but I'll write it out later. So that was a good memory for me. And then fourth one is when I was 15 years old, I found out the name of my English name, Ron Saren. Obviously, it's Cambodian too, but it's my legal name, not my nickname. I'm sorry, because I'm sweating and it's hot. I found out that my name, Ron Saren, was given by my father, and my father was not in our life. Long story short, my mother left my father. He was very abusive. He was very intelligent, very, very well known, I guess, in the community, well respected. He had a certain type of character where it's very charming, but very abusive, according to my mother. And I don't doubt that because I lived through the effects of that abuse. So anyway, I learned that my name is actually my father's name kind of chopped up and put together. So I don't know, maybe there was thought to it, but his name is Saran and my name is Seren. I have a little half sister whose name is Sarai. So you see the connection. And I didn't know what, Sarai means, but my mom said that it comes from his name, which is Saran, the Ron in the front, Ron. Everybody call him Sari. His name was Saran, but everybody knew him as Sari. So Ron Sari, that's my younger sister, my half sister. I've never met her before. Sarai, it basically means like happiness, good tithing. But my mom's name was Non, and the letter N in her name, just that particular N was put towards the back end of my name when you spell it out. So that's why it's Ron Saren. I know. I know. Complicated? No meaning. None. I was devastated. I was very devastated. And at that time, I was like already sad and depressed. Like, why doesn't my mom love me? She told me that when she looks at me, I remind her of my dad. I look like my dad. My name is very similar to him. And so she would always get angry at me, whenever she got drunk, she lashed out on me. And it's still painful to this day. I've been healed from it, but it's still painful to talk about. And so at that point, when I learned where my name came from and how it got formed, I was very sad that so it was almost like an afterthought, right? My dad was very wise, so I guess he was able to cut up names and put it together. I don't know. I hated it. I hated it so much. So that's why it's green. Identity crisis. Then when I was 16, and this is after, woo, I went to church, I got saved, God saved me, recommitted my life. And I was struggling with my name. There was times that I was like, people were messing with my name. I'm like, yeah, whatever. You can call me Ron. You can call me Sarah. At some point, I was also telling them my name was Rose, even though I hated it, but it was a nickname that stuck with me, But when I was 16, I was sitting in the back of the balcony, and I was doing warfare. I was singing worship songs. I was crying, like, Lord, change me. What's going on? I need a transformation. And then God said to me, you are my precious daughter, Ron Saren. I was like, wait a minute, did I hear that wrong? Wait, is that my voice? Is that God's voice? I was still learning at the time to discern. God's always talking to us. We just need to discern in hearing. And I just felt the heat, the love, like the arm of God wrapping around me and telling me that he loves me and I'm his daughter. Not just his daughter, but his precious daughter. Amazing. I was 16 years old and I tried not to cry, but here I am getting emotional. Yeah, I got some tissue papers. Sorry. But anyway, life changing. And next to that, even though I heard that, it really didn't tackle my name. So when I was 17 years old, I had some friends and we thought, we live in the ghetto. There were gangs, activities, gang life, and I wasn't really part of the gang, but I grew up in it. So, the culture of nicknames and, it becomes like a lifestyle almost. And so we were like, well, they got a name, we want a name. And so a group of me and my girls we came up with a silly idea. Our names were going to start with a J, and we were going to have a last name that starts with an S. And so, well, no, not a last name, just our name that starts with a J. I later on split that up. But my name was Jumo Sabi. To this day, there's only one or two people who still calls me Jumo. And then that's another nickname that that I put it on myself now. First, it was from my mom and the community. The second one, what my father gave me, and this one I put it on myself. And that was because I was trying to find a place to belong. I needed a community. I was looking for my tribe. I was trying to feel love, and I've known these girls, and we've known each other. We grew up around each other, family, friends. I knew one of them, when she was like in diapers, and I was a little kid running around in front of her apartment complex playing with her older sister. But anyway, my name was Jumo Sabi, and then later on I shortened it to just Jumo, and I took on that identity for a little bit until I get to Same year, 17. I was 17 years old. Oh, I forgot to tell. You probably already see the patterns right now, but when the memory comes up, try to put a date or a year next to it, as you can recall, so you can go back and put it in chronological order. The reason why you want to do it in chronological order is to show a pattern. Then the patterns have different kinds of patterns that gets revealed to you, but most of it is the patterns can show you the root cause, the patterns on what triggers it, and then it's also to show the season when you struggled, when God gave you grace, when God carried you through the Jordan River. Okay, so I was 17 years old, and then in the Bible, right, when God told Jeremiah, I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. And that's when he called Jeremiah as his prophet. And then David, you know, David had said something to the same effect. And so God knew you and knew me before he formed you, before our parents even thought about conception, and sometimes, your identity crisis come from a name that your parents gave you, which is unwanted. You were an accident. That's a name. You're an accident. We didn't mean to have you. We didn't use protection. Oh, I was just, have fun. You were born out of wedlock. Maybe your parents didn't get married. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the circumstances were. The fact that a name was given to you and it became part of your identity for that season, it changed the trajectory of your life. My mother told me, and my sister, my older sister, she told us, because she was so hurt, she told us that if we were born as sons in the refugee camp, she would have given us up for adoption. She didn't want to have any kids because life was just so hard. How do you survive taking care of children in the midst of war? That was her thought. And the fact that she's been hurt by men, one being my father, she was like, I was ready to give you up to the Catholic nuns. Whatever her plan was, God had a better plan. And, well, we were both girls. So mom took us. And of course, we were her headaches. We were her burden. But then we're also her blessings. And I love her. I love her so much. And I thank God for his provision and for saving us. And so anyway, why is that important? Why is that verse important to me in that memory? Because God said, I knew you, before I formed you in your mother's womb. Your name I gave to you. Your father may have thought about it. Your mother may have agreed with it. But it was the name that I gave you. And that took a whole new meaning. It had like hope. It had love. I felt freedom. I felt proud. I felt so found, if that's the word. Have you all heard of the phrase orphaned heart? An orphan, a child that doesn't have any parents, any dependent adult. An orphan heart, even if you have parents, you feel like you don't belong anywhere, like you're the rejected child, the unwanted child. And so it's also a spiritual term. And I have felt like an orphan throughout my whole entire life as part of my identity. My mom didn't love me, and I looked like my dad. According to her, I didn't have an identity. I was struggling. And then God says, I gave you that name. Your father may have thought, but I put it in him. I put it in to name you. Just like how God told Hosea to name his kids. His kids are probably like, Dad, why are you naming me that? God told me to name you that. Why? Not because I hate you, Jezreel. Not because I hate you, No Mercy. Not because I hate you, what's the other one? Lo, I me, not my people. You know, you ain't my people. Like the song, they're not like us. But I named you. God named me so that I can love you more. So that I know the pain that God feels, and I learn how to love you more like God loves Israel. Do you understand the importance of names? Joshua, what we based off our channel, Joshua's name was what was his name? Where's my note? His name was Hosea, which means salvation. And then Moses changed it to Joshua. It means God is our salvation. You see? So his parents probably like, oh, salvation. Something must have happened, right? Joshua was an awesome child, and something must have happened, and they just wanted to name him salvation. But Moses says, yes, salvation is good, but God is our salvation because God delivered us from Egypt. Okay, moving on. So I was on a high of like, my name comes from God. I'm Ron Saren. I love the name Ron Saren. I was reeling in it. I was finally finding my identity and finding my purpose. And obviously, when good things happen, and you're following God and you're loving God, then you know that the enemy wants to destroy that. He doesn't want you to know and to live in the fullness that God has for you. So he has plans to still kill and destroy you. And so what happened was when I was 18 years old, I was in church, and at this time I started, I was involved with the high school group, being a high schooler myself. I volunteered to help certain things around the church. We had activities. And I remember because the neighborhood around the church wasn't good. Obviously, it was next to my house, so it was a lot of gang activities and violence. And I remember Wednesday night, I would always walk home by myself, and I met a few people from church, and I would tell them, and there's this area in the church where there's like a courtyard in the middle of the church, and then you have surrounded by buildings, right? At this time, the high school group was located in the gym area. Yeah, we moved from upstairs to down to the gym, and then underneath the other building was the junior high classroom. So the high school was in the gym, and adjacent to that was the junior high. So after this particular event, I went into the junior high room to help clean up. And one of the gentlemen that I used to that I met at the church, we served together. He was looking for me. He was like asking everybody, "Hey, have you seen Ron Saren? Do you know Ron Saren?" And it just amazed me that I was sitting outside right by the door of the entrance, where the courtyard is, where everybody can see you. I wasn't hiding. I was just sitting there on the bench, and I'm like, I'm here. I'm here. And he walks past by me. He's asking everybody, "Hey, do you know Ron Saren?" And all the other people that, was at the church, well known, I'm not going to put anybody's name under the bus because nothing against them. They didn't really know at the time. But very well known, like some of them were pastors' kids, leadership kids and stuff. And they're like, "Oh yeah, I know Ron Saren." Like literally, I was sitting there and in the bench, right right in front of them, and they're talking, and I'm like, I'm here, but it's like my voice couldn't be heard, and I felt so invisible. And I put that as a green because it was like a knockdown. Like, so I loved my name, and now I know who I am and whose I am. And then there's people who don't know me. They've heard of my name. My name preceded me, but they didn't know my face. My face didn't match. So he was asking at least 5 people that I could remember. I'm pretty sure there's more. You know, people, because it was going in and out. It was after service, and one of them was a youth pastor, and they're like, "Hey, have you seen Ron Sarin?" They're like, "Yeah, yeah, she was just here. Why? Is she okay?" And he's like, "Oh, well, she told me that she lives nearby and she walks home, and I wanted to give her a ride home because it's not safe. But if she already left, then it's okay." And like, pastor like turned to me, eye contact, blank stare, no recognition. He was He goes, "No, I seen her earlier, but I don't see her anymore. She probably already left. It is pretty late. It was like after 9ish." And by this time, by the fifth person or the sixth or the seventh, I was like, I didn't even try anymore. I I didn't. Here I am. I'm answering. I was just like deflated. I felt so invisible. Nobody saw me. Nobody can see me. Nobody can hear me. Wow. A blow to my identity. Okay. And then again, in the same year, I was 18 years old. I was serving at a youth group with my spiritual mom and all my Bible study teachers. They're all my spiritual parents. I love them so much. They've changed my life. But we had a Christmas show. And at that time, Antonio Villaraigosa, he wasn't a mayor. He wasn't the LA mayor yet, but he was campaigning and he was running to become mayor. And every Christmas, our group is called Homefront Outreach, which took place at the Knights of Columbus on Valerio Street. That's where I lived, and Valerio is well known amongst the Cambodian community. You tell them I'm from Valerio, they're, "Oh, Valerio." So the outreach was located in the Knights of Columbus building that was down the street from the apartment complex, because the goal was to reach out and evangelize to Cambodian children. And that's when I remember I told you I went to go get a Christmas gift when I was 5 years old, and that was when I learned the name Jesus. It was through this outreach. And coming back now, God saved me and made a 180, and now I'm serving. So I'm serving there as I'm helping giving the Christmas presents to the kids as they're coming by. I helped with the play. I don't remember if I played as an angel at that time or not, or if I was just helping, but I was 18. And I remember I was introduced to Antonio, or we call him Tony at that time, I think. Or I think that's how he introduced his name. I don't remember. And my spiritual mom said, "This is Ron Sarin." And I shook his hand. I was like, wow, I get to meet like a politician. I was young. It was like starstruck, but not really, because I really wasn't like a fan or anything. But I was like, wow, I get to meet the future mayor of Los Angeles. And you know what he said? He goes, "Hi, Ron." And I'm like, Ron Sarin. He goes, "Ron." I said, Ron Sarin. Ron Sarin. He thought about it. He's like, "Ron. Hi, Ron Sarin?" I said, "Yes, Ron Sarin." He goes, "Okay, Ron. Well, nice to meet you." I'm like, no, that's my first name, Ron Sarin. My last name is Chem. and so then I realized that names can be butchered in so many ways. And that was like another blow to my identity. Keep going. So later on, there was a pattern of people just saying, trying to call me Ron. Because of that, it was traumatic. I did not want to be called Ron because, by this time, Mr. Villagrosa was already Villa. What's his name? Antonio Villaraigosa is now the mayor of Los Angeles. So every now and then I see him on the news, and I'm just like, that's the guy who called me Ron. I can't believe him, And so when people call me Ron, it used to piss me off, and I get so mad. I'm like, no. So around when I was 20 years old, I started declaring my name. No, my name is Ron Sarin. That's my full first name. That's my first name. My last name is something else. And I didn't appreciate people butchering my name anymore. And I was very adamant. And I put that as a pink. As a pink, I declare my name because I wasn't trying to be ugly about forcing people to say my name correctly. But it's because I had learned to embrace my identity as Ron Sarin, who I was. I was not just a child of God. I was a Southeast Asian. I was Cambodian. I was American. I was Christian. I had hope. And most importantly, I was in a coma for 5 days and, almost died, almost didn't have any hope. And so it was like waking up again. I took my identity to, God took me to another level of accepting and embracing and the victory behind the trauma, healing from being rejected, from, being left out, not only by my family, but my community. And so I embraced my name. I embraced my identity. I walked in that authority. And so the next one was again 20 years old, same. The name I started to embrace my culture. Before I didn't like it. I didn't like it because the community that I lived in really mistreated me and my family. Because my mom was a single mom, and she was an addict. She got in trouble. And so did they, but most of them thought they were better. They had family, they had money. We were poor. We didn't have a car. My sister and I took the public bus everywhere, So we were despised. And it was not until when I was 20 years old, was the pivotal moment of my life, which is actually going to be another Memorial Stone story. But I started to embrace my culture. I learned to forgive. I learned to heal from that. And I learned to appreciate and incorporate my culture into my faith. Christianity isn't about turning you into a white man's religion. Christianity is about Jesus from Israel, from Nazareth, from Jerusalem, not Britain, not America, from Jerusalem, who gave up his life to die for me. Jesus, who came from heaven to live as a human being so he can suffer for us, with us, and die for us, and then live again, resurrected for us. So I was learning how to embrace all of me. Why? I may not have a perfect family life, but God put me there for a reason. There's gifts that we can get, I get from that, callings that I get from that. And we'll get into that later. The second one, or the last one, I kind of stopped there because we can go on forever, right? Was later on my name, 25 years. At 25 years old, I became a school bus driver, and they call me Miss Chem because that's how you address, adults in school, is by their last name. And I used to hate my last name, Chem, because it actually came from my grandfather, which reminds me of how I found out where my name Ron Starin came from, which came from my father. But my mother kept our last name as my grandfather's name because that's how much pain and trauma she experienced with my father, that I didn't even have my father's last name. See, that's also an identity crisis, an orphan heart. I didn't have a tribe. I didn't know where to belong. And I can hear my husband coming home. But then later on, I got another last name, which is Powell. And I was 33 years old when I got married. So that is to show the patterns, right? That's how you kind of start it. And once you get that, you get all the memories and summarize it together, all the good and the bad of your name. I know he's getting loud, so I'll end this soon. But later on, I started writing my name out in posters. I wrote it in English, and I wrote it in Khmer. I wrote it in every kind of way. And then finally, I put it on a very expensive cup, and I love it. Okay, well, I'll talk to you later because it's getting loud. Next video. See you later. I love you. Bye.
Come here. Come here. What's that?